On the day of the college entrance exam, an unexpected turn of events took place. On my way to the exam site, my body moved faster than my mind, and I saved a golden retriever, only to be struck down by a car in the process.
In less than 2 seconds, I found myself reborn in the body of the golden retriever I had just saved. Who would believe that a living person could turn into a silly dog?
Glancing at the watch on my lifeless wrist, I immediately grabbed my pencil case and sprinted towards the exam center, which was less than 800 meters away. I had lived for 18 years for this day.
Even if I had turned into a flea, I would still take this exam.
10 minutes later, the summer sun blazed, and the heat was oppressive.
Get a grip. You're a dog.
Several strong men pinned me down at the entrance of the school building.
Plan A failed.
Thrown out of the exam center by the strong men, I had no choice but to regroup and implement Plan B.
Amid the cicadas' incessant chirping, I panted heavily as I squeezed through a hole in the wall. To think that I, a dignified candidate, had to crawl through a dog hole to take the exam. Is this the degradation of morals or the distortion of human nature? Finally passing the first hurdle, I chose to crawl forward this time.
Successfully avoiding Mr. Lee, I ran into the classroom I had scouted the day before, tongue hanging out.
Exam room. Iari come.
But what I thought was a triumphant cheer sounded like barking to others.
Why is this dog here again?
Mr. Johnson was exasperated and immediately called for the strong men to help. As I was carried out on a wooden stick, I felt, for the first time, the same frustration Arthur must have felt during his northern expeditions. To start a venture only to be thwarted midway. The heavens are against me.
Plan C, action! Sneaking through the grass, I advanced cautiously this time, understanding the need for discretion.
But this time, what blocked my path wasn't even a person.
Meow, meow, meow.
A plump orange cat stood in front of me, baring its teeth and fluffing up its fur to intimidate me. I had seen this cat before. I remembered when I was still human, it was cornered by a group of mischievous kids in a dark alley. It was me. I descended like a hero to save it from those kids.
Ungrateful cat.
Is this how you repay your savior? The orange cat sat down crookedly and shamelessly began to groom itself. After a while, it looked at me with mocking eyes.
Savior, aren't you just a dog?
I was speechless. Oops. I had accidentally voiced my thoughts. But how could I suddenly understand cat language? Could this be a perk of becoming a dog? A big orange cat was causing trouble, blocking my way. It even called over a few buddies. Just like that, they surrounded me, a dignified golden retriever.
The college entrance exam is important for human kids. We can't let a silly dog like you mess it up.
I felt suffocated and short of breath.
I'm here to take the exam too.
It would have been better if I hadn't said anything. As soon as I spoke, 7 or 8 stray cats burst into hysterical laughter.
You, the college entrance exam?
These cats. They were not just bullying a dog, but a person. Did I choose to become a dog? I felt miserable and wanted to cry. Oh, cruel fate. I just wanted to take the college entrance exam once. Why did I have to go through so many trials and tribulations? Blocked by 7 or 8 vigilant wildcats, I had no choice but to retreat in defeat. Plans A, B, and C had all failed. And now, there were only 15 minutes left until the first exam started. In utter desperation, I decided to seek help from humans. Carrying my pencil case, I panted as I ran to the teacher in charge of patrolling.
Why is it you again?
But this time, before he could call for the strong man, I obediently sat down and gave him my best puppy eyes.
Doggy, what exactly do you want?
I immediately placed the pencil case on the ground, pointed at it with my paw, and mimicked the action of taking an exam. After completing all the actions, I picked up the pencil case again and looked at Mr. Lee with hopeful eyes.
You want to take the exam?
Woof! Congratulations, you got it right!
But you're a dog.
3 minutes later, I was taken to the office of the head administrator. After explaining the situation, the patrolling teacher waved his hand and continued his rounds. I was left alone with the head administrator in the office, the fan whirring loudly. We stared at each other.
You Alex?
I nodded eagerly.
Woof!
The head administrator clutched his chest, took 2 steps back, and collapsed into the chair behind him.
You a dog want to take the exam?
Woof! Yes. I, a dog, want to take the exam.
Perhaps finding the situation too surreal, the head administrator used the intercom to call in the exam supervisor who hadn't started his rounds yet. Before long, a group of people surrounded me, each rubbing their chins and frowning as they stared at me.
Unbelievable. A dog wanting to take the exam.
Don't say that. This dog's eyes seem full of wisdom. Maybe it's the clarity of an untainted mind.
Everyone was talking at once, making my head spin.
How about?
Suddenly, a hesitant voice broke the noise in the office.
A figure, younger than most present, instantly became the center of attention. My gaze naturally fell on him. Probably not used to such attention, the young man swallowed and hesitated.
Should we give it a try? Absolutely not.
As soon as the young man finished speaking, Mr. Brown firmly rejected him.
Letting a dog take the exam? What kind of message does that send? But this dog carried a pencil case here and even expressed a desire to take the exam. Maybe it really can.
Mr. Brown sneered repeatedly.
A dog taking the exam? Don't you find that ridiculous?
Faced with Mr. Brown's blunt mockery, the young man gradually lost the courage to continue arguing.
Standing between them, I couldn't help but think of a classic line.
Stop fighting. Please stop fighting over me.
The office fell silent. I looked at Mr. Anderson, whose expression was inscrutable. Though it seemed absurd, I thought he might actually agree.
By the way, wasn't there a student who didn't show up for the exam today?
After a few seconds, Mr. Anderson suddenly asked. While the others were still in a daze, the young man quickly answered.
Yes, that student was in an accident and is currently in the hospital.
In the hospital? I was stunned. Wasn't I already gone?
In that case, bring the exam papers.
The next moment, the young man was overjoyed, Mr. Brown was furious, and everyone else was dumbfounded.
The exam papers were soon brought in by a young man with a brisk pace.
However, as soon as he entered the room, a middle-aged man on the verge of fury snatched them away.
This is the college entrance exam. It's a crucial test for all high school seniors across the country. And you agreed to let a dog take it? This is outrageous.
Mr. Brown, calm down. Let's just give it a try. Maybe it can actually do it?
Fine. Even if it can, then what? Will any university actually admit it? Can you stop being so ridiculous? It's a dog, not a human, even if it can understand the questions. What's the point of it taking the exam?
His questions left Mr. Anderson and the young man speechless. Clearly, no one was paying attention to me. I sneakily approached Mr. Brown's hand and, taking advantage of his distraction, snatched the paper away.
Then, with lightning speed, I grabbed a pen in my mouth and scribbled a wobbly D in the bracket of the first multiple-choice question.
Wow, it got it right. Just a coincidence. You don't seriously think it can understand the questions, do you? But it can write letters.
I shot a sideways glance at Mr. Brown. You don't believe I can do it, huh? You'll eat your words soon enough.
Hey, it's right again.
No way. Can it really know this?
The subjective questions are coming up.
It's right again. Unbelievable.
I focused on answering the questions, while the invigilators' exclamations echoed around me. In less than 20 minutes, I finished the multiple choice section and turned to look at the young man who was recording me on video. Wait, recording? Just as I was about to continue, I suddenly realized and looked at the young man. With my movement, the others also turned to look at him.
Mr. White, what are you doing?
Just wanted to document this. It might come in handy later.
I shifted my gaze from Mr. White to Mr. Brown. Previously dismissive, Mr. Brown was now closer to me than anyone else, his expression changing from "is this it?" to "wow." In an hour and a half, I had finished the entire Chinese exam paper except for the essay. Everyone was collectively stunned.
This isn't a dog, it's a literary genius descended from the heavens.
Mr. White urged, holding his phone.
Doggy, you still have an essay to write.
Essay. I looked at the essay question worth 60 points at the end of the test paper. Then I looked up at the group of invigilators staring at me with wide eyes. After thinking seriously for 2 minutes, I grabbed the pen with my mouth and scribbled a line of messy handwriting. I am a dog, holding a pen, tired, not writing anymore. Their silence was deafening as I buried my head in the answer sheet, filling out the multiple choice questions at the front. After 2 hours and 3 minutes, I finally finished the Chinese test paper. My dog mouth was numb. As they looked at my wildly scribbled answer sheet, they clicked their tongues in amazement.
No wonder it wanted to take the exam. Look at its accuracy. I graduated from a 211 university, and my Chinese scores aren't as good as a dog's. All right, I haven't even spoken yet, and I graduated from Peking University.
Mr. Brown, who had previously been quite dismissive, now had a complete change of attitude towards me.
Excellent. Simply outstanding. If this were a person, I would definitely want it as my student.
I lay leisurely on the ground, my chin resting on my front paws, while the teacher's praises echoed around me. The first subject was Chinese. I managed to get through it, purely driven by sheer willpower.
But should we submit this paper?
As the clock approached 11:30, everyone began discussing whether to submit the exam paper. Mr. Anderson's question brought a hush over the group.
We don't have to seal it, but we could ask the grading teacher to score it.
Everyone turned to look at Mr. White.
A dog not only took the college entrance exam but also scored high marks. If handled properly, it could serve as an example to motivate future senior students to study hard.
I yawned as I watched Mr. White speak eloquently.
What's this? Suddenly, he's all about positive energy?
Your video. It's well done. After the exams are over, I'll ask the higher-ups if we can post it online.
Mr. White's eyes widened instantly.
Really?
Yes, really. So be very careful not to delete the video.
Upon hearing this, Mr. White immediately patted his chest and made a bold promise.
Don't worry, Mr. Thomas. As long as I'm here, the video will be safe.
All right. The first exam is over. You all should go eat and rest.
As he spoke, he turned his gaze to me and asked gently,
As for you, little guy, can you stay with me for now?
I barked in agreement. But 3 seconds later, I was suddenly shocked, staring at him in disbelief. Did he just assume I could understand human speech? The long lunch break ended. After a good nap, I was fully awake, thanks to the persistent calls of Mr. White and Mr. Thomas. Compared to the morning when I was surrounded by a crowd, now only the two of them were by my side.
After all, they were exam invigilators. They couldn't all focus on just one dog during the exams. The math test paper was quickly delivered. And then,
a new batch of onlookers arrived.
Wow. Witnessing a dog take the exam in person. I'm so excited.
Mr. Brown said it was okay, so this dog must really be capable.
Mr. White is impressive. I heard he was the first to suggest letting the dog try.
Young people are bold and daring.
the new group of onlookers jumped around like excited squirrels in a melon field. They even fought for the best viewing spots. The squirrels celebrated, while the dog felt exhausted. Math exam. Under the watchful eyes of the onlookers, I completed the math test within 2 hours.
Wow, it really can do it.
All correct.
No wonder Mr. Brown couldn't stop praising it. It's like a genius in disguise.
Amidst the exclamations, I dropped the pen from my mouth and stretched my stiff jaw, turning to look at Mr. Thomas. Luckily, there wasn't much to write in math, otherwise, I might have been completely exhausted today.
Not bad, not bad. Let's call it a day and continue tomorrow.
Since he already knew I could understand human speech, I didn't bother pretending anymore.
Woof.
Mr. Thomas, what about tonight? Should it stay at the school? What if it runs away in the middle of the night?
Mr. Thomas frowned and thought for a moment.
All right, I'll take it home with me today.
Mr. White wholeheartedly agreed with this decision. With Mr. Thomas's final word, he ended the day's work and drove me away from the school. But he didn't go straight home, instead. Good doggy, we're just giving you a bath. It will be over soon. Caught off guard, Mr. Thomas led me into the pet hospital.
Don't worry, it won't take long.
Mr. Black was already prepared.
No!
I resisted fiercely. Even if I had to take a bath, it should be Ms. Green giving it to me. Although I looked like a dog on the outside, I was still an 18-year-old girl at heart. Woof woof. Woof woof woof. Don't think that a golden retriever can't bite.
Good doggy. Good doggy.
I struggled desperately in Ms. Green's arms, but I was worried about hurting her, so I didn't use all my strength.
But she just took advantage of my reluctance to hurt her and held me tightly. The dog's heart is bitter, but the dog can't speak.
Is this a male dog? It seems to have been neutered already, no wonder it's so temperamental.
What? I turned my head in shock and disbelief towards the speaker, completely stunned. I never expected that a perfectly fine girl who hadn't even been in a relationship, with one blink of an eye, would turn into a neutered male dog.
Woof! I can't take this anymore.
An hour later, after being given a thorough bath, I felt utterly defeated. Mr. Thomas hesitated, his gaze shifting between the two nurses.
What's wrong with it?
It probably just isn't used to being bathed. It should be fine in a while.
I was on the verge of tears. Not used to it? That's an understatement.
All right, thanks for your help.
Mr. Thomas settled the bill and took me home. Sitting in the passenger seat, I stuck my head out of the window, feeling the hot wind against my face and the orange sunset enveloping the earth. I couldn't help but stick out my tongue.
The next second, I was suddenly startled. Darn it! I'm a human. But I have to admit, this is kind of fun.
The next morning, I was sleeping soundly on Mr. Thomas's couch when a loud "what the heck" woke me up. Rubbing my eyes with my paws, I groggily looked at Mr. Thomas's daughter, who was holding her phone and shouting. To my surprise, Mr. Thomas's daughter turned out to be my English teacher, Ms. Johnson.
What's all the yelling about so early in the morning?
Mrs. Johnson, clearly startled by her daughter's outburst, rushed out of the bedroom, scolding her. Stretching lazily, I jumped off the couch and went over to Ms. Johnson.
Mom, this dog is trending.
Trending? What trending?
Mr. Thomas, who was brushing his teeth, ran out with a mouthful of foam.
Let me see that.
He quickly pushed his wife aside, put on his reading glasses, grabbed his daughter's phone, and browsed the page with a serious expression. I anxiously circled around their feet.
Woof. I'm the main character here. Let me see.
Few minutes later.
A family of 3 sat around the dining table in silence. Taking advantage of the moment when no one was paying attention, I placed my front paws on the table and saw the trending topic featuring me as the main character. It turned out that the video of me being carried out of the exam hall twice that day had been posted online by a parent waiting outside for their child. I have to admit, it was a bit funny. I scrolled through the comments section.
Dog. Let me go back, I can still take the exam.
Wow, just wow. Are dogs this ambitious these days?
First, we had the rise of the apes. Now we have dogs taking exams.
This dog looks familiar, it resembles the one my neighbor lost.
Dog taking exams? Just a gimmick, right?
Is getting trending now dependent on such stunts? Unbelievable.
I reported it. Did I do the right thing, folks?
Allowing a dog into the exam hall is disrespectful to the exam itself. If your child was at this exam center, would you still find this amusing? If students get distracted and don't perform well, who will be responsible for them not getting into their desired university? I hope the relevant authorities take action.
The dog was taken out before the exam started. If your child didn't do well, it just means they weren't prepared. Stop blaming others for everything, it's absurd.
Seriously? Does anyone really think a dog can affect students' exams?
Blowing things out of proportion, absolutely.
Blowing things out of proportion? If you were a parent of a student at this exam center, would you still be laughing? Keep the jokes in moderation. Exams need to be taken seriously.
As expected, the comments section was a battlefield, with netizens arguing fiercely. I looked at Mr. Thomas with concern. With public opinion like this, can I still take the exam today? Outside the exam center, Mr. Thomas's car appeared, and reporters who had caught wind of the situation rushed forward. If it weren't for the police holding them back, Mr. Thomas's car might have been trampled by the crowd. Many parents of students were also standing outside the school gates, protesting loudly. They claimed that Mr. Thomas bringing me into the exam hall was irresponsible and showed a blatant disregard for the importance of the exams. I didn't dare show my face, lying on the back seat with my head buried under my paws, not daring to make a sound. My head was pounding. The car smoothly drove into the school, and I looked out the window at the scene outside the gates. Reporters were jumping up and down, trying to get a glimpse. Most of the parents wore expressions of anger. I let out a weak woof and felt a pang of guilt towards Mr. Thomas. After all, Mr. Thomas was completely caught up in this mess because of me.
Let's go. We have 2 tough battles to fight today.
Mr. Thomas said nonchalantly, opening the car door and motioning for me to get out. As soon as I entered the school building, Mr. White came up to me. He no longer had the excitement he had yesterday. His face and eyes were full of guilt.
Mr. Thomas, if it weren't for me yesterday.
What's done is done. There's no point in talking about it.
Mr. Thomas interrupted him and kept walking forward. Mr. White followed closely behind us. I glanced back at him and saw that he was nearly consumed by self-blame. It wasn't until we entered the office that Mr. Thomas finally stopped. He then turned to look at Mr. White.
Did you edit the video you shot yesterday?
Mr. White was taken aback by the question. It took him a few seconds to respond.
Yes, I edited it. Didn't you say yesterday to be prepared just in case? So I got it ready in advance.
Then post it now.
Now!
Mr. White and I spoke in unison.
Yes, now. Go home and post the video immediately. Since the netizens suspect that the dog might interfere with the students' exams, let them see for themselves.
I understood the logic. But who is this dog? Mr. White immediately grasped Mr. Thomas's intention, nodded, and rushed out. With Mr. White gone, today's exam videos. Mr. Thomas and I exchanged glances. Was he going to film me himself? The science exam paper was quickly delivered by the staff. Mr. Thomas placed the exam paper and answer sheet in front of me and solemnly turned on his phone camera.
Start answering, Alex. Let the online viewers see your skills.
Could you stop calling me Alex? It's annoying. Although I was displeased with Mr. Thomas for giving me that name, now was clearly not the time to fuss over it. Luckily, I was the only one at this exam center who missed the test due to an accident. Otherwise, I would have had to choose between the humanities and science exams. Skillfully picking up the pen, I was about to start answering when I couldn't help but recall the days of writing with my hands. Sighing deeply, I pulled myself together. Thanks to yesterday's 2 exams, I was in top form today, writing as if guided by a divine hand. At exactly 11 o'clock, I had completed the entire answer sheet, including the multiple choice questions.
Not bad, not bad.
Mr. Thomas said, patting my dog head. He picked up the exam paper and examined it closely, his expression growing even more pleased.
The accuracy is as high as yesterday's. As long as you perform normally in the English exam this afternoon, you'll easily score over 700 in this college entrance exam.
Woof. Of course, I was one of the top students in our school's elite class. Even though I had already secured a spot through early admission, I still chose to take the college entrance exam. Unfortunately, fate had other plans. A sudden accident disrupted all my plans. 11:30 a.m. The morning exam ended, and Mr. Thomas's phone rang.
Mr. Thomas! Just as you predicted, public opinion is overwhelmingly in our favor. You're amazing!
Woof.
Good boy, Alex! Now everyone online is praising you, saying you're a star sent from the heavens.
If you stop calling me Alex, we might actually have a decent conversation.
I also recorded this morning's exam. Please take the time to edit it and post it online.
Got it, Mr. Thomas. I'll make sure it's done.
Mr. White hung up the phone with a determined look. Mr. Thomas and I stared at each other for a moment before he finally couldn't hold back his laughter.
I never thought that just as I'm about to retire, I would witness a miracle.
You are more than just a witness. I thought to myself, you are the one who created this miracle. The English exam had just ended.
S. Johnson, who claimed she was taking her father home but was actually just there for the spectacle, squeezed into the back seat of the car with Alex and shoved her phone in his face.
Look, Alex, this is the legacy my father left for you.
Unable to refuse her enthusiasm, Alex reluctantly looked at her phone. The comments read,
Shocking. A dog answers questions better than humans. Is this the rise of the canine or the fall of humanity?
I really watched it answer questions for 5 hours, checking the answers as I went. Guess what? It had a 98% accuracy rate.
Staged. This is obviously a publicity stunt.
Stunt my foot. Try staging it yourself before you talk nonsense.
Yeah, right, it's staged. They must have prepped the dog with the answers and then filmed it.
I know my limits. This dog is 800 times smarter than me.
The ninth wonder of the world, a golden retriever scoring higher than 90% of humans in the college entrance exam.
Humans are inferior to dogs +1.
What do you call a divine intervention? This is what you call a divine intervention.
Dog, promise me, don't start live streaming sales. Promise me, don't make me beg you on my knees.
If it starts selling, I'll buy everything.
Case solved. This dog indeed belongs to my neighbor. Apparently, it couldn't get over a little female cat next door. When the cat's owner moved, the dog ran away with them. My neighbor has been frantically looking for the dog, afraid it might end up in a hot pot.
Don't even say it, just don't.
Little female cat, officer, there's a pervert here.
After reading the comments, Alex fell silent. This golden retriever was definitely a hopeless romantic. With a clue in hand, the owner of the golden retriever quickly contacted Mr. Thomas.
You little rascal. Why are you pestering that little female cat? Do you know why they moved? It's because you kept bothering her. And now you have the nerve to follow her? What, you think you can live happily ever after with her? Dream on. If you were a person, you'd be breaking the law, you know that?
I've been looking for you day and night, having nightmares, worried something might happen to you. And here you are, taking the college entrance exam and becoming a trending topic. Just wait, I'll deal with you when I get there.
After yelling at me, the girl on the other end of the phone started thanking Mr. Thomas in a soft, gentle voice, completely different from before.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas. I really appreciate your help.
I didn't realize you were such a devoted dog.
I shook my head vigorously, trying to deny it, but Mr. Thomas had already accepted this narrative, and I had no choice but to accept it with resentment. I thought I was just a pitiful stray dog being rescued. Who would have thought I was a lovesick wanderer? My fate is truly full of twists and turns.
Next day.
The online frenzy continued, and the owner of the golden retriever arrived, looking furious.
You! How could you run off like that?
She appeared to be a quiet young girl, but she started punching and kicking me as soon as she held me. Though her punches were weak, they were still hard to fend off.
That's enough. Calm down.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas. I really didn't expect it to run 300 kilometers. If I hadn't seen the news online, I would have thought it was caught by traitors. I was even considering building a memorial for it.
No need to thank me. I didn't take it in, it brought us so many surprises. Your dog is extraordinary. It should score over 700 in the exam.
700?
The young girl was stunned. Mr. Thomas nodded with a smile. The young girl looked at me, her expression indescribable.
Silly dog, you have this kind of talent?
I thought, although I appreciate your compliment, I am indeed not your silly dog.
We invited you here to reunite you, but also because...
Mr. Thomas paused, then continued under the young girl's puzzled gaze.
Although it's a bit presumptuous, this dog is truly exceptional. I hope you can consider letting it continue its education.
Continue its education? You mean let it go to college?
Mr. Thomas confirmed with a nod. The young girl and I looked at each other in disbelief.
Good boy. Are you going to take Mom to new heights?
Help! Help! I was about to suffocate.
This frenzy I had caused on the internet lasted for 3 days and nights before it finally began to subside. But soon, with a single like from an official website, the frenzy reignited.
Not only parents of next year's senior students, but also many parents of middle school, elementary school, and even kindergarten children are flocking to my tweets to pray for blessings.
I, an ordinary dog, had suddenly become the contemporary star everyone was vying for.
Look at all these prayers under my tweets. Even I, as a dog, am overwhelmed.
In just a few days, the media that had previously been hostile towards me began to chase me relentlessly.
Somehow, they got hold of my phone number and started calling day and night to secure the first interview.
Some even went as far as to block Mr. Thomas's house with cameras.
This can't go on. I'm calling the police.
With the police station's nationwide announcement and the official media once again urging netizens to stay calm, even criticizing the most persistent media outlets by name, people's enthusiasm for me finally decreased a bit. On the day the exam results were released, Mr. White was the first to send out my exam results. Each subject, and the total score.
673.
As expected, this tweet instantly went viral.
673. Is this a joke? It's just a dog.
As expected, netizens are so gullible. It was one thing to hype up people, but now even a dog can be put on a pedestal.
Who are you calling gullible? Is it so hard to admit someone else is excellent while you're not?
673, and that's with the essay marked at 60 points. I wouldn't even dare to dream of such a score.
With this score, top universities like Peking University and Tsinghua University will be fighting over it.
I've heard Tsinghua University has already sent someone over. Let's see if they can get it.
Peking University too.
Feeling inferior to a dog +1.
Who would have thought that even Peking and Tsinghua would one day use a dog for publicity? Unbelievable.
Just wait, the dog's owner will probably start live streaming and selling products soon. Fooling you gullible folks.
Soon, amidst the overwhelming praise, another voice began to emerge. This group of people probably hadn't even watched the video of me taking the exam, yet they confidently claimed I was just putting on a show, labeling this nationwide celebration as a baseless entertainment frenzy. With that came more and more skepticism. That day, Mr. Thomas brought home 2 particularly serious-looking men in suits.
Goldie.
As soon as he entered, he waved at me. I panted and ran over, giving the old man a friendly nudge. After seating the 2 men in suits, Mr. Thomas explained the current situation to everyone present.
These 2 are officials from the Ministry of Education. The main reason for their visit is the escalating online controversy about Goldie's college entrance exam performance.
That's right. We're here today to have Goldie take the exam again.
Take it again? Before I could react, he continued.
But this time, we plan to live stream the entire process to set the record straight.
Not only do I have to take the exam, but I have to do it under the watchful eyes of millions? How thrilling!
Woof. The previously tense-looking man in the suit relaxed a bit after hearing my response from Mr. Thomas.
However, since Goldie has already taken the National Standardized Test, we will prepare a different set of questions for this occasion. Is that acceptable?
Woof. Another set of questions? Of course, that's fine. After discussing the live stream details for a while longer, the men in suits got up to leave.
On the day of the live broadcast, viewers flocked to the live stream as word spread.
The stream, which should have been expanded to accommodate more viewers, crashed within 5 minutes due to the rapid surge in numbers. Fortunately, since the Ministry of Education spearheaded this live exam, the stream was quickly restored with the help of relevant national departments.
I glanced at the number of viewers online. 320 million.
When they said I was being put on a pedestal, I couldn't believe it. But seeing this today, I could only say,
well, why not?
The screen was flooded with rapidly scrolling comments.
Here out of curiosity. Checking in. Checking in +1. 1 point for the Wolf Brigade. Come on, cat people. I'd rather believe the Earth will explode tomorrow than believe a dog can solve problems. What did I say? Isn't this just a sales pitch? Are they going to say, click the link next? Publicity stunt. Attention seeking. Disgusting. Get out. Trash, 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 trash. This is the perfect time for a dog meat hot pot.
Amidst the chaos stirred by some ill-intentioned viewers, the comments section became a mess.
Fortunately, the moderators acted swiftly, muting a large number of viewers who were clearly trying to stir up trouble. Meanwhile, the exam paper, said to be the hardest in the country, was placed in front of me.
I refocused, grabbed the pen. Under the watchful eyes of millions, I wrote down the answer to the first multiple-choice question. Oh my gosh! It's really answering the questions! All correct. Absolutely all correct.
My mom asked why I was kneeling to watch a dog's live stream. Someone must be giving it the answers, right? You guys are just too gullible.
Shut up. Don't make me slap you when I'm in such a good mood. Unbelievable! This dog is truly unbelievable! No more words, I have no dignity left, I'm bowing to this dog. The Chinese exam ended smoothly.
As for the essay, probably because they had heard about my previous work, this exam didn't include one. I took a quick glance at the comments. Compared to the initial chaos, the sentiment had started to shift.
After a brief rest, the math paper was laid out in front of me.
Since this wasn't the real college entrance exam, there was no need to strictly follow the exam schedule. In just one morning, I pushed myself to the limit, nearly exhausting my mouth, and managed to complete both the Chinese and math papers. The moment I put down the pen, I felt like my entire dog self had been elevated.
Compared to the intense and thrilling Chinese and math exams in the morning, the science and English exams in the afternoon were much easier. By 5 o'clock, I had successfully completed all the exam papers under the watchful eyes of 320 million viewers.
Those who had confidently claimed I was just putting on a show before the exam had now vanished without a trace.
The rapidly scrolling comments on the screen were uniformly filled with respect! Hands together in prayer.jpg. Respect! Hands together in prayer.jpg. Respect! Hands together in prayer.jpg. Respect! Hands together in prayer.jpg.
I dropped the pen and sprawled out on the ground like a salted fish.
Although answering the questions was satisfying, it was truly exhausting.
To prevent any further disturbances, the Ministry of Education had invited several highly respected examiners to grade my papers on the spot. If there was any flaw in my exam papers, it was the wild cursive handwriting. Glancing at the elderly examiners with their graying hair, reading glasses, and furrowed brows, I silently prayed for them.
May they return from grading the papers without losing their original intentions. Amen.
The arduous task of grading the exams finally came to an end. The head examiner stood up shakily, looking as if he had just been through a great ordeal. He took a deep breath and, under the expectant gazes of everyone, announced my scores.
Chinese 87, Math 148, English 150, Physics 97, Biology 97, Chemistry 95, total score 674.
After announcing the results, the exam hall fell into a dead silence.
Even the live stream's comments section went completely quiet.
Not bad.
5 seconds later, the comments section exploded like a geyser.
674? Without the essay, it's 674? 1 point higher than last time? What's going on with this dog? What's going on? For a moment, I thought I was dreaming. My mom asked why I was watching the video with my head bowed. Guys, who understands? I worked my butt off to score over 500 and was so proud of it. A student from Beijing University is devastated. A student from Tsinghua University is also devastated. Help, I'm from Shanghai University, and our principal suddenly went crazy, saying he wants to catch the dog himself. All our professors are trying to talk him out of it. Is this a dog? This is clearly our celestial savior. Golden Retriever forever.
In the end, I chose Qing University and Beijing University, and did not opt for Shanghai University, which tried to lure me with treats. As a golden retriever, and one that was carefully looked after by its owner, I retired gracefully after politely declining all the advertisers who wanted me to live stream and sell products, represented by Mr. Thomas. I followed the golden retriever's owner back to her city. Before leaving, I made a point to visit my body, which was still in a hospital in a vegetative state. I overheard that since there were no family or friends to pay for my ongoing medical expenses, my body wouldn't last much longer. I had never been more grateful to be an orphan. Otherwise, how heartbroken would my parents be to see their child in such a state?
Buddy.
Ms. Miller called out to me, and I turned to see her waving at me.
Come on, we need to go.
Woof! I'm coming!
But just as I stepped out of the hospital door, an invisible force instantly pulled my soul out of the golden retriever's body. As the world spun around me, my soul floated up into the air. The next second, another unknown force began to pull my soul in a certain direction.
Damn, am I going to be reincarnated?
When I opened my eyes again, I was standing by a busy roadside.
Ms. Miller, are you okay?
I felt a bit dazed.
Suddenly, a piercing screech of brakes sounded.
A familiar bark made me turn my head sharply. The golden retriever and a car. I stumbled towards the golden retriever, and only when I saw it unharmed and hiding in the bushes did I finally relax. The driver who had caused my previous accident was still cursing, but the onlookers, with their sharp eyes, immediately berated him until he drove away in shame.
Ms. Miller, are you a high school exam candidate? It's almost 9 o'clock.
I snapped back to reality, thanked them, and ran towards the exam center without stopping. This time, I could finally take the exam as a human.
Although I didn't understand what had happened, since fate had given me another chance, I was grateful for it.